I basically wanted to talk about how to crush PLO, how to beat PLO. And if you're new to PLO, this video will really help you out. Like I said, I'm a little frustrated. I have to re-record all this. I did this before, but anyway, we'll get right to it. Couple recommended readings, I would say, is the Jeff Wang PLO book. I would definitely recommend this. This talks a lot about hand structures and a lot about like wraps. He has a lot of examples about hand straight draws. The thing that's really good about this is he talks about gaps need to be on the bottom, and he talks about different types of straight draws and that kind of stuff. But you'll recognize wraps: 13 card wraps, 17 card wraps, 20 card wraps. As you get to playing, 20 card wrap would have two of your cards on the top of the three cards and two on the bottom. 13 card wrap would have something like a few cards above, two cards above, and then one below. And I'll show an example of that in a little bit here. And you want to make sure the gaps in your hand are on the bottom instead of the top. You want like Jack 10 9 7 instead of Jack 9 8 7, because when the gap is on the top, you're not drawing to the nuts as far as a straight. And on PLO, you really want to be drawing to the nuts. Just like in flush draws, you want to be drawing to the nuts. If you're in there with a bunch of people and there's a flush draw on the board and you're getting the right price to hit your flush, well, if you're drawing to a queen high flush, you're throwing away money. Somebody's in there with a nut flush. Just like a paired board. If the board is paired, don't be chasing flush draws. So the nuts, the nuts, the nuts. You want to be chasing the nuts. Another good book is Mastering Small Stakes PLO by Jay Nenez, and that is a very good book. He talks a lot about pre-flop hands and hands you should be playing. He talks about hands with danglers really shouldn't be played, but you have to just be careful. He talks about position with different hands. It's a very good book. I'm halfway through it, and half of the book has all been pre-flop, which is very important. So I think it's a good book, and talks about different types of hands you can play. A hand like Ace 765 with the nut flush draw is a hand you can play because you have a suited ace and you have a rundown hand. King, Queen, Jack 10 suited, and all the hands you know to play. But basically, yeah, you want to. Those are a couple of good books to read. Another form of learning is go on CrushLivePoker.com and check out my buddy Ryan Terpstra. Ryan is a good guy. If you meet him in person, he'll buy you a drink. I've met him in person, played some PLO with him, and he's got some real good videos on Crush Live Poker that I recommend. Try him out for a month, and he's got some videos that are really worth checking out. So I would highly recommend him. Now, another thing that you want to make sure you're doing is playing with Pro Poker Tools. I've got it up here, and one of the things everyone talks about is aces. If you have aces, aces are a great hand, guys. Everyone talks about aces as being a terrible hand, but honestly, if you have a terrible ace hand, let's put in a hand like ace of clubs, ace of diamonds, seven of spades, two hearts. It's about as junky as you can get. And let's say you've got a beautiful hand like queen of hearts, jack of hearts, 10 of clubs, 9 of clubs. Guess who's ahead? Aces are ahead. Not by much, but they are ahead. Now, if your aces are pretty, even against a hand like that, let's say we put 7 of clubs, 7 of diamonds, you're a 65-35 favorite. So you can go ahead and add more hands. Let's say you're up against multiple people. Let's say you're up against someone that has a 40% range, someone else that's up against, say they're playing a 20% range. And we'll scroll down here. Oh, just took a second. You can see we're 43%. We're in good shape. We're getting 3 to 1, which we only need 25%. And even though we're not going to win over half the time, we are getting at least 3 to 1 on our money if everyone just shoveled it all in pre-flop, which happens in some of these crazy games. And you can see that we are actually ahead and we're getting our money. Where these guys playing the top of their ranges are only 17%. They're not getting 3 to 1. they're losing in the long term. These guys are all losing. Even this pretty rundown hand right here that you're saying, oh, I got to play this hand. Look, it's not getting 3 to 1. It's losing. So just a quick example there to show you that aces are a good hand. You want to play them. Before I get into a few other hands, I wanted to talk real quick about bluffing. I'm going to get into a couple other hands with Pro Poker Tools in a minute. Some good examples of bluffing is to rep flush draws when you miss your straight draws. If you have a big rap and you're calling down, people will put you on a draw, and basically you want to turn around and rep the flush draw when it comes in. Now, when it's the other way around and you're chasing a flush and the straight comes in, that usually doesn't work as well because people just don't see the straights. They don't believe the straights. You can still bluff in that instance, but really when the flush comes in and you're chasing a straight, you really want to rep that flush and pot it or close to pot it on the river to get people to fold. Another good bluffing example is to talk about bluffing when the board pairs. So let's say the flop is queen seven deuce with two hearts, and everyone checks to you, and the turn comes a seven where the second pair pairs, and it gets checked around to you again. That's a good opportunity right there to bluff because it makes sense that you could have a seven in your hand and you wouldn't have bet it on the flop, and now bink, you hit trips, you bet it. And if you're doing it with like a backdoor flush draw, let's say you picked up a backdoor flush draw and the board pairs and it's checked to you, that's a perfect opportunity to go ahead and rep that you hit trips because it's very believable that you could have a seven and you wouldn't have bet the seven on the flop, and now you're betting your trips, and you'd be surprised how often that works and how many times people fold. Of course, everyone knows about the ace blocker play, which is when you have a heart in your hand, or excuse me, any suit in your hand basically. But let's say I have an ace of hearts and there's two hearts on the board, and the third heart comes in and the guy bets and I raise and I put a lot of pressure on him because I'm repping the fact I have the nuts, and I know that he does not have the nuts because I have the ace of whatever suit it is. So that is a standard good play to make. I'd be very careful with that because a lot of people know this play and a lot of people just won't fold king high flush. So you can go ahead and raise and a lot of people will call. You can bet and a lot of people will call. I had a gentleman not too long ago that the hearts came in, and when I got the king high hearts on the river, he made a play like that on me, and I called him down because it didn't make sense based on the line he was taking. I think the hearts came in on the turn actually, and he checked it, and then the river came a blank. I bet he raised me big, and I just didn't buy the fact that he would have checked on the turn when the hearts came in. So I called him down, and he had the stiff blocker. So anyway, just something to keep in mind. As we get to another couple hands here, I wanted to show you some instances. It is very important to learn these equities. For example, a wrap and a flush draw is ahead of a set. And I will show you an example here. We're off the top of my head. I'll go 9 of clubs, 8 of clubs, 3 hearts. And let's say I have a hand like Jack of clubs, 10 of clubs, 9 of hearts, 7 spades. Something like that, where we have a 13 card wrap and the other guy has pocket nines. We'll take away these two guys. So you can see here, well, look at this. And you can see that nines are a 40% dog. Now I gave him a 9. So actually what I could do is turn around and give him, let's put a 2 in here. That way I don't take one of the 9. The set still has an extra out hitting quads. So if I take that out, you can see that this wrap and flush draw is ahead of a set. So let's say I flop top set here on this draw heavy board, and I bet my top set, and a guy raises me really big, and I know he's not going to do that with a set of eights. Well, I got to put him on a big draw like what he has. Now I could shovel all my money in, and I'm getting proper odds, but you really don't want to shovel your money in behind, do you? Do you want to put in extra money behind? I really don't. I really would like to get my money in ahead if you're shoveling in extra money. If it's calling and you're getting proper odds, that's one thing. But why would you shovel in your money behind? This is an example where the equities change and you might want to wait for a safe turn card. So right here, I'm going to turn around and instead of jamming all in, I would just call his raise, wait for a safe turn card, and let's say we put in a safe turn card of the, what would be a safe turn card? Something like the four of diamonds, right? That doesn't change anything. Now I'm actually ahead. So I'm kind of surprised it's that close. Typically, I would think I'm a little further ahead. But yeah, I'm ahead now. So barely ahead. But now I'm ahead. So now that I'm ahead, let's get it in. Well, I get it in when I'm behind. Wait for a safe turn card, and then I can turn around and get it in, and all is good. So you will find in a lot of examples where if you're playing with these equities, you will see where it's actually smart to wait for a safe turn card and then get it in. Because why are you getting it in behind? Probably a better example is, let's say there's a lot of action on the flop. You have top set, and you know one guy has a flush draw, and you know another guy has a straight draw, and so you know you're up against straight draws and flush draws and maybe lower sets. Well, you actually are behind with top set on the flop, so you can wait for a safe turn card, and then if the straights and flushes don't come in on the turn and there's no further action, now get it in because now you're ahead. You're happy to get it in. This odds oracle, by the way, is something I recommend. It does cost money, which is why I don't have it yet. But this odds oracle actually is pretty slick. As far as you can put in ranges of hands, you can put in multiple hands. You can put in on a certain board. You have top set, and somebody else has a flush draw. Someone else has a straight draw. Someone else has a wrap. Someone has a range of hands. You can put in a bunch of things, and you can kind of see where you're sitting against a range of hands because when there's heavy action on the board, you typically are against wraps and flush draws, those types of hands, with a hand as strong as top set or top two. So it's really important to know what you're up against. I guess we can really quick here look and see if I had top two. See, top two is 47%. You're slightly behind on the turn. On the flop, you're way behind. So, this is an example of maybe you just want to call and see if you're good, if you think he's on a draw. And then the turn, you're closer to 50-50, and then you can get it in if you want to. So this is just an example, a couple examples there of some things you can learn playing Pro Poker Tools. I think I covered everything here. If I missed anything, let me know. Phil Galfond has some good videos on Run It Once. I watched a couple of his free videos. The problem with that is he charges $99 a month, and everything costs money. How much money do you want to spend, right? You can also play with GTO Plus and GTO solvers, and that's something that's fun to do, and you can benefit from it. But again, very expensive. So it all depends on how much money you want to spend. So the couple of books I mentioned to you were only 30 bucks a piece. This Pro Poker Tools is free. The Odds Oracle isn't that much more, and that does cost some money. And the Crush Live Poker video subscription, I think, is $25 a month, and you can do it for free for a month and check it out and watch his videos. And if you don't want to continue, you don't have to. So I think this was helpful. I hope it was helpful. I hope this recorded all right, and I will talk to you all later.